What is up, Sports Geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another episode. Today we are virtual with the college basketball guru, Nick. Nick, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Just want to wish everyone out there a happy Selection Sunday. It's been a great day. Besides trying to get all my homework done before spring break, just watching all these championship finals play out, I think it's been an absolutely great championship week.
Yeah, other than my Michigan State Spartans, excuse me, going down to the Buckeyes, that was pretty rough. It's been a wonderful week of basketball, though. Let's
that
hop
was
right into this, though.
not gonna lie, that was brutal because I was texting you all game about that game all day, and then you just went silent. I was like, well, I probably should quit texting that. He's pissed off.
I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't pissed at all. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll go ahead and give everyone the breakdown here. So we're gonna start with the South bracket here. As you guys can see, I'm sharing my screen. You guys can see the brackets. We're gonna do one episode per region. So today we're just talking about the South bracket. And then, this is being recorded Sunday night. We'll probably get it posted here on Monday. And then we'll get all three other regions posted either Monday or Tuesday. So we'll have everything out before anything happens. So then we're not saying, College of Charleston's going to upset and it's being posted after they've already upset them.
And the game's already happened.
Right. So today we're just talking about the South brackets. We have the number one overall seed in Alabama, the SEC champions. And there's some really good opportunities for upsets in this bracket. It might be the best opportunity for some upsets. What do you think coming into this bracket? What do you think happens here, Nick?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Obviously you have Alabama, number one overall seed in the tournament, well deserving. That is, clean sweep of the SEC. Played great today against a really defensive-minded Texas A&M team that they lost to literally a week ago. So with Alabama, it's really interesting because you see they're obviously going to win their 16 seed game. I doubt there's no way they're too athletic to lose that game. But you look at the 8-9 matchup in Maryland, West Virginia, and really either team that comes out of that game is a defensive-minded team. And if Alabama doesn't shoot the three well, or let's say West Virginia beats Maryland and gets that game against Bama, and they can play really good defense on them, Alabama could be in a bit of trouble because they live and die by the three.
Yeah, they do. I will say, looking at this bracket here, the 4 seed in Virginia, they run that pack line defense that really forces teams to beat them from three. It forces you to have to shoot the 3-point well, and if you are able to shoot the 3-point well, this team's very beatable. This Virginia team, especially with their inability to score. This College of Charleston, if they are able to win this San Diego State, they are a team that heavily relies on the 3-pointer, and they are damn good at it. We could really see College of Charleston, Alabama matchup in the Elite Eight because of how well Charleston matches up against Virginia. And I'll tell you what, if we see a Charleston, Alabama matchup in the Elite Eight, that could be 190 game. I mean,
literally, it could legitimately be 190, or it could be Alabama wins 80-40. Like it could be, there's so many different outcomes. It could be either so lopsided or so close. And that's just what I love about March, because you never know what's going to happen. Never know.
You don't. I'll tell you what, though, this College of Charleston is, one of my favorite picks for an upset here. I know 12/5 is a really common one, but Charleston's probably my favorite one. They are a team that's very reliant on the three, but they're good at it. So when you're reliant on it, but you're good at it, that gives me hope. And they're also a team that, kind of all year has had the, nobody expects us to do anything, the underdog mentality. When they're coming into this game with nothing to lose, if I'm San Diego State, I'm scared. I'm scared because it takes the first 4 minutes of Charleston going 3 for 5 on threes. And now you're in trouble because they're already, they start to smell some blood in the water, and it can be a dangerous, road for San Diego State.
No, I 100% agree. You look at Charleston, they're 31-3, and most people and most analysts were like, look, if they don't win their conference tournament championship, they're not getting in. And that's just crazy to think about because, obviously their strength of schedule is in the 350s, which is horrible, but they can blow a team out and they can do it like that. Like they can do it so fast. Like in that championship game against UNC Wilmington, they were down 9. And next thing you know, their lefty point guard drills a few threes. They get a few stops, have a few transition buckets, and they're right back in the league like nothing happened. They're coached by Pat Kelsey, who's a Cincinnati guy from around here. He's just a fantastic coach, and he knows how to get the guys fired up. And I think that's the scariest thing for a team that's a 12 seed playing against a team like San Diego State, who honestly was in a nail biter yesterday against Utah State and easily could have lost that game.
Yeah, San Diego State is not playing their best ball right now, and Charleston's had to play, that elimination style, basketball.
Say for
Look
the
at
past
San Diego
5
State.
games.
If San Diego State didn't win in their conference tournament, they were still going to get in.
Yeah, they
right?
knew they were in.
And Charleston, like you just said, had to win. So they've played these elimination type of games, and this is going to be something really interesting to see that matchup. And specifically, I really think the Charleston Virginia matchup. And that's not saying just throwing Furman out the door, because Virginia is not playing good basketball right now.
Yeah, no,
they absolutely could be upset here.
If you ended up watching any of the Virginia Duke game last night, I apologize, because I actually did watch it, and it was probably the worst display of basketball I've ever seen in my life. Virginia uglied that game up so bad. I mean, there was a point in the game where the live over-under was at 95. 95 total points between two college basketball teams. I couldn't believe it. Virginia doesn't really do much. They just try to suffocate you with their defense, and half of the time, if you have a good enough offensive skill set, you're going to be able to score against them. And as of late, they've really, really struggled to score. And that's why you see these games happen where, like last night, they only put up 49 points and they still lost. They lost by 10.
Yeah, this Virginia team's really struggling offensively, and it could be something to monitor. I do want to go towards the bottom side of this bracket. So we have Creighton as a 6 seed, who is an extremely strong 6 seed. And a 6 seed with a lot of potential. They haven't been playing the best ball, but if you look at this roster is elite, and they very well could be competing in the Elite Eight against Alabama. Now you also have Baylor, who we cannot talk about good rosters with. We cannot even look past Baylor.
You can't skip up on Baylor when saying good rosters, but Baylor concerns me because you watch their game against Iowa State. Excuse me. They just didn't look like they wanted to be there. They didn't have any heart. Some people were saying they were gutless, and I agree. Once they got down, and they took that lead in the beginning, and then once they got down by 10, 12, it was just like, all right, when is this game going to end? They're like, we don't really care to be here. We already know we have a spot in the NCAA tournament, whether we're a 3 or a 4 seed. We really don't care. And I think that's kind of a problem, because it seems like once they get into a bit of a hole, they just don't care anymore. They lose all hope, and they just have no heart. That's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you look at like March Madness over the last couple of years, it's pretty common that you see, especially in like a 14-3 seed, maybe a 15-2, where you see the underdog kind of start off hot, right?
Yeah.
They come out to maybe an 8-2 lead, or maybe it's 20-14 or something like that. But if you're unable to deal with adversity and battle back, you're going to really struggle in a situation in an upset situation. And I think Baylor, I don't think UCSB is really going to give them fits. But it's a possibility. I do think that we see Creighton moving on into the Sweet 16 here to take on Arizona, though.
That game actually with NC State really interests me, because it's both two very very good guards that each team has, but then you also got to look down low, where both teams have pretty good big men in NC State with DJ Burns and Kalkbrenner for Creighton. So it's really going to be who's going to win I think it's going to be who wins the matchup down low, because both teams from outside with Nemhard and Quintavious, I believe, for NC State, they're going to be able to knock down threes. Him and Joyner are going to be able to hit threes. And I don't think it's going to come down to who hits more threes. I think it's come down to who has a better post presence, because NC State in their last game against Clemson got absolutely dominated in the post.
Yeah, they did. It was bad.
I mean, they weren't making a lot of threes, but they were making enough to where they still could have been in the game. But DJ Burns got into foul trouble because he was slow off the ball. He couldn't guard whenever it got into a one-on-one situation. I think that's going to be a really big problem for NC State come time for them to play Creighton.
Yeah, and even if you look past that, if you were to say, when NC State gets into Baylor is significantly more talented than a team like Clemson, who you really just struggled with. So that's going to be something interesting. The 7-10 here really doesn't. I
don't get much from that.
I don't get much from this either. I think Princeton's a great 15 seed. If we are going to see a 15 over a 2, I'll scroll down here and look at the other ones. I do think it's going to be Princeton over Arizona, but I don't think we see that. Princeton's a really good 15 seed, but still Arizona's just too good. And I think that Missouri and Utah State don't even come close to matching up with Arizona to get themselves to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, you look at the 7-10 game, there's really not much out of it. You got a Utah State team who just had to play their asses off and had to crawl into the NCAA tournament in most people's eyes. Like, they had to get to that championship game to get into the NCAA tournament. And then you have a team like Missouri. You know, they got there and they battled Alabama. They beat a Tennessee team that, you know, they're coasting into fumes into the NCAA tournament because they don't have their key guys. So, I mean, I honestly think Missouri wins this matchup. I just think Missouri's bigger. Missouri's a bigger and more athletic team than Utah State. But, I mean, in that next round, you're going to be playing an Arizona team who just came off of a fantastic win last night, and they're hungry. And I don't think they can beat them.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I want to start filling out this bracket a little bit. I'm not on the app to fill it out. I'm on just the view here, but let's start looking here. So obviously Bama comes in, and then we have, you know, either Maryland or West Virginia. I'm probably going to go Maryland just because I think they're a little bit deeper. But West Virginia absolutely could speed these guards up and get these guys to go.
Yeah, it really depends on how Eric Stevenson plays, I feel like, in my eyes. You know, usually he's really the guy for West Virginia. And whenever he goes off for anywhere from 15 to 20, West Virginia seems to win. I think it's really going to come down to is how can Maryland handle being away from home on the road in an atmosphere like March Madness that most of these guys really haven't been a part of, I would say.
I think really only probably Dante Scott.
Yeah, I don't think really any of them have. And I think, you know, you got an experienced coach in Bob Huggins and a really experienced team in West Virginia. Most of these guys have been in postseason play. I don't know. I think that's a toss-up. I would personally take West Virginia just for the bias because, you know, I like Bobby Huggins, but I think West Virginia could get the job done there. Just on the defense.
Yep. I think that is an absolute toss-up. I'm leaning Maryland. You're leaning West Virginia. Can we agree that Alabama is going to win?
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's going to win no matter what, so you can put them to the Sweet 16 for sure.
Perfect. Here is an interesting one. I kind of hinted at this earlier. I'm going to choose Charleston over San Diego State, and then I'm going to choose Virginia here. And then I'm going to actually put Charleston into the Sweet 16. That is my sleeper team into the Sweet 16 is Charleston.
I like that pick.
I think the matchups are really well. What do you think about this little quad here?
All right. So looking at this quad, I mean, it's a very slow-paced and defensive-minded quad when you look at how San Diego State plays and Virginia plays. But when I was watching the selection show, they put up the round of 64 results. I forget how many years it went back, but it was looking at the comparison of like what the teams and the seeds have won. And you obviously had the 16 seed; they've won once. The 15 versus the 2 is 10 to 138. The 14 versus 3 is 22 and 126. The 13 versus the 4 is 31 and 117. The 12 versus 5, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, more leveled out, is the 12 has 53 wins and the 5 has 95. And then you get to the 11 versus 6, where the 11 has 57, the 6 has 91. The 10 versus 7, where the 10 has 58, the 7 has 89. And the 9 versus 8, where the 9 has 76 wins and the 8 has 72.
Yeah, so this, you know, based on those numbers, the big jump is to the 5 to 12.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the only problem I could see in this Charleston-San Diego State matchup is the fact that Charleston is so undersized. They play small, but they don't play small because it's a part of their scheme. It's because they have to. And I think that could be a problem because you look at a team like San Diego State, they have lengthy guards all up and down the board except for Trammell, and he's their point guard, but he's so uber athletic that I don't know, it might be a problem Charleston could run into is where they're just so much longer than them that they're going to be able to play great defense and just take control of the game.
And I also think rebounding is going to be a huge factor of this game. If Charleston can rebound at all, I mean, I'm not talking win the rebounding battle. I'm talking keep it within 10.
Yeah.
Then you're going to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. They'll have a chance.
Yeah, but if you're going to get out rebounded by 15, 20, 25 rebounds, which is a legit possibility and is what San Diego State has to do if they want to win this game, I don't think Charleston can come out on top. But I'm going to take Charleston. I'm going to take Virginia. I'm going to take Charleston to the Sweet 16.
I'm back you on that as well. I like Charleston to the Sweet 16.
Oh, I love that. So then we have Creighton, NC State. I know we talked about this a little bit here. I'm going to ride with Creighton, and then I'm going to ride with Baylor in this little quad here. Who are you rocking with here?
Okay, so for me, I don't know. I really do like NC State, and I just think it's because of the way they play. You know, they're a fast-paced team. They get out and try to run, but then at the same time, they can always just dump it down low to DJ Burns, and then he can just go to work, and he'll just manual one-on-one. But I really feel like it's for NC State, if they're going to win this game, they have to be able to shoot the three ball. It showed in their game against Virginia Tech. They were able to get up and down the floor and hit drill transition threes. I mean, the guards combined had 51 points. So you're looking at it, and then you come and you see the next game against Clemson. They only had a combined 17, I think, in the first half, and then finished like combined like 32. So it was not nearly the same split. And I think if they want to beat Creighton, they're going to have to shoot the lights out of the three and still be able to defend a little bit. But I agree with you. I think Creighton's just a more superb and finished team. So I'll go with you on Creighton.
I think Creighton's just the more well-rounded. There's just a well-rounded team.
Yeah.
Looking at these rosters here, I do think that Creighton Baylor is going to be a great matchup. It's two very talented teams, but I do think I'm going to ride with Baylor here. Creighton's good, and Creighton, if they come out of this, Creighton absolutely could beat Arizona and continue this run. But I don't know if they can beat Baylor. I think Baylor's gotten their scare, right, after losing to Iowa State.
Yeah.
First round of the Big 12 tournament. I think that's your scare. I think that's, Scott Drew's going to say, hey, guys, look, wake up, right? You have one more slip up. Our season's done.
It's over. I agree. Yeah. You look at Baylor. It's just that's my only thing with me is they're just not the team. I don't know. I feel like you look at other teams that face adversity that are in this 1 to this 4 seed line, and all these teams, even if they're down 10, are going to keep fighting. They're going to fight to the finish no matter what. And I think that's the only problem with Baylor. They just don't seem to have that heart. I don't know. They just play such a nonchalant, casual game. And if they're not knocking down threes, they're the same team, just like Alabama. If they're not hitting threes, I mean, they're really not a threat. But I agree with you. I think they'll beat Creighton because they're just more athletic, have better guards, a lot more depth in the guard room compared to a team like Creighton. So, yeah, I think we are going to get the matchup we want to see in Baylor versus Arizona. I think we will.
Yeah, I agree. I think Missouri Utah State is a useless game in my eyes when building this bracket. I think Missouri probably wins, but I think even if Utah State wins, Arizona just rolls through either team, and so that does mean, if you agree with that, we have an Arizona, Baylor, Alabama, Charleston Sweet 16 in this bracket here. Do you think you get? I'm assuming you're going to rock with Bama over Charleston.
Yeah, no, I think this is a game. If Charleston can get that far and get to this game, this is a game where Bama just shows like, look, from 1 to 5, we're better than you. From 1 to 5, we're taller than you. From 1 to 5, we're more athletic than you. Like you could take probably the 8th or 9th man off of Bama's bench and insert him directly into the starting lineup of Charleston. Absolutely. Alabama's just that deep and that good of a team to where Brandon Miller in his own right could go off for 30. Like today he finished with 23 and 12 and he didn't even play the full game.
And he shot terrible.
Yeah, he had horrible splits and he had 2 fouls. Like he didn't play the full game, but he still put up 23 and 12 against one of the best defensive teams in not only the SEC but in the country.
And I will say, we talked about this in the chart for Charleston against San Diego State is rebounding the ball. Brandon Miller is an excellent rebounder, and Alabama as a whole is a very good rebounding team. I don't think Charleston is able to hang with the inside aspect, the interior aspect of Alabama. Obviously, the hype is always around the 3-point shooting. I think the rebounding battle is what wins this game for Alabama. But I also think this could be where Charleston's luck kind of runs out, right? You do have to be lucky as a 12 seed to get to the Sweet 16. We see it every year. We saw it 2 years ago with Oral Roberts. Their luck ran out. Sweet 16 against Arkansas, right? And then we saw it, last year with St. Peter's. Their luck ran out in the Elite Eight against Purdue.
Yeah.
So
against
not
Carolina.
Not against Purdue, against Carolina. That's right, because they were able to get Purdue. So I think that's where Charleston's run kind of ends there. But at the bottom side of this bracket, I think we have a doozy of a game in Baylor, Arizona. And I think that if Baylor's able to make it this far, if they're able to get through Creighton, I think Baylor really ramps it up a gear. I think they're able to take on Arizona.
Yep.
And I think that if you will give Keontae George the experience of playing in 2 tournament games before this Arizona game, he's going to be really good.
Yeah, tear up Kirk Kriisa if they get to this point.
Now,
I 100% agree, because you look at Arizona, and I don't. If we were to take Arizona, it'd be a 1-2 in the elite or the sweet or in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. We know that's a lot of chalk, and we know that's most likely not going to happen. It rarely does. But I honestly agree with you. I just think Baylor's a more complete team. I really think Baylor's a better team. They have more depth at the guards, like we've been saying. That at their big men, they have Flo Thamba and Everyday John. You can interchange them or you can play them together. And you look at the big men you have for Arizona, you have Trebellis, and you also have the starting center. I completely forget his name, which is embarrassing, but you have those two as a 1-2 duo. I just think Baylor all around matches up a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. I would actually even go as far to say that I think whoever comes out of Creighton Baylor beats Arizona. If Creighton comes out, I would take Creighton over Arizona because I think Nembhard just tears up Kirk Kriisa. I mean, I think Kirk Kriisa is one of the least efficient players in college basketball.
100%. And he talks so much shit and it never works.
Yeah,
all the time. I mean, you also got to remember, you got to go all the way back to Maui at the beginning of the year in November. These 2 teams played in the championship of that tournament, and it was a 1-score game.
Yep.
Creighton had every chance. That was when Creighton was up. Creighton was number 5 in the country at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, you're crazy if you don't think this is a revenge spot for Creighton.
No,
if they were to get to that point. But then we would have an Alabama Baylor Elite 8 matchup here. Choosing a team to come out and represent, the South region in the Final Four. I promise I'm not choosing every 1 seed, but I am going to choose Alabama.
Literally lost to them by 2. Creighton did. Lost by 2 on a last 30-second bucket or something like that.
Yeah, that's the perfect spark to a team to piss them off enough to come out with fire in their eyes.
Yep.
All right, so I just said I'm giving Bama here. I promise I'm not giving every 1 seed, but this region, I am going to go with the 1 seed in Bama. I think they're just too good at rebounding and 3-point shooting. If it was just a 3-point shooting, I could see Baylor coming out on top, but I think the rebounding aspect is enough to get Alabama there. How do you see that game going?
Yeah, no, 100% agree. You're going to see Alabama. Do you know where that regional final is in the South?
I do not.
Because I know the first round games for Alabama are in Birmingham. I think that could really play a factor in where it is. But no, I definitely agree. You look at it, Bama's just a lot more. I would go as far as to say Bama's a more complete team. They've had a lot go on this year, but I think that's honestly brought them closer together and made them even more of a team. They'll play for each other. They're a band of brothers. They'll go through whatever they possibly can to get wins. And I think that showed today is they had no let up today. They played
South Regional is played in Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. Okay. So, that's kind of far for both teams.
Yeah.
But I definitely see Alabama getting there, and I definitely see Alabama winning because just like you said, Josh, they out-rebound people. They do it easily.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at 3 through 5. They're all 6'8", 6'10", 6'10", or 6'11". They're huge.
And all with 7-foot plus wingspans.
Yeah, they're all insanely huge, and I think that's going to become a problem for Baylor's because they don't really start a humongous lineup when you look at it. They go 3 guards with Flagler, Cryer, and Keontae George, and then you throw in Matthews, and then you have Thamba in the middle. And you have Matthews, who's been undersized at maybe 6'7", playing your forward spot. And I think that's going to end up being a problem for them is because they just aren't nearly as big.
That would mean that, Alabama has their 3 guard that's bigger than Baylor's 4 player. So that's a problem when you have 3 guys that are all competing for rebounds with your 1 guy, essentially.
Exactly.
And when you were to have, you would have to go with one of George, Flagler, or Cryer on Brandon Miller.
And that's just not going to work.
No, it's an uncontested shot for him every time.
Yeah, it's a matchup nightmare.
That's 6'10" against at best 6'5", right?
It's an absolute matchup nightmare.
Yeah. So we both go with Alabama here in our brackets. We are going to post an official bracket. Nick will have one. I'll have one.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll get some
be
other.
doing a little bracket challenge for sure.
Yep, and we'll post that in the link in all of these videos. We'll have the link to that. There'll be no money involved. We're not. That's probably some sort of legal implications if we get money involved. But
Yeah.
we'll have personal pride on the line. And when and then when Nick has a perfect bracket, everybody will be able to see that he is a guru and I'm not just.
I would love if I had a perfect bracket. I've been close a few times. I've never actually gotten the perfect bracket. I've had the Final Four correct, but I've never had to where I've gotten the full Elite Eight, the full Final Four, and then the national champion, 2 teams, and the champion correct. I've never gotten that, but I've been close.
My claim to fame here, as we're wrapping this up real quick, my claim to fame is that 2 years ago when Oral Roberts made it to the Sweet 16.
You have that?
I had Oral Roberts to the Elite Eight.
Oh, and they should have went to the Elite Eight too.
They should have beat Arkansas in that game.
They had Arkansas, man. They were there that whole game. They had it.
And I'll tell you what, so I was ranked at that point 72nd or something in like the 8 million or whatever.
That's impressive.
And I had, obviously I was looking ahead, and flipping out because that's, in between the second round and Sweet 16, you have like do a couple days. And so I'm looking ahead, and I was the only person there that had Oral Roberts to the Elite Eight. Oh. So that
would have been a huge game changer.
Right. Like, so at one point I would have been ranked first.
Yeah.
Now, like the rest of my bracket ended up falling through as most of them do, but that's my claim to fame there. But any more closing comments here about the South region before we close out this one, or what?
Yeah, I guess you could say it's about the South region, but it's really just more in general. We might as well lump in the first 4 into this video because there's only 4 games, so it really doesn't need its own. But if you were to pick out of the first 4 games, which are, we'll just go game by game. Not that the 16 seeds really mean as much, but we'll go game by game.
Here we go.
Who would you be taking in Southeastern Missouri State and Texas A&M Corpus Christi? Because I'd be going with Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I've watched a few of their games this year. They're actually really not that bad. They went into I watched them early in the year against Oklahoma State. They actually went into Oklahoma State and they held tough. I mean, it wasn't Oklahoma State won easily, but they actually held tough, and I think they'll probably roll SEMO here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's really the only game I've seen out of A&M CC here. But I would agree with that. They should probably roll SEMO here. And I do think that that obviously it's a 16-1. Whoever wins both of these 16-1s gets rolled.
Yeah.
Badly. Now, I do think in the Pitt Mississippi State game, both of these 11s are absolute toss-ups in my opinion. I think that
100%.
I don't see like a competitive advantage for either team coming into this game, looking at rosters, looking at records. You can look at whatever you want. I think this is literally a 50-50 game, a true pick'em game. I don't even know who I would rock with looking here. I do want to look at, who would play.
It'd be a crazy for Mississippi State and Pittsburgh. It'd be a crazy, crazy under game.
Okay, so we're looking at winner of Mississippi State. Pitt has Iowa State.
I think Iowa State would probably roll either of these teams, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's
maybe not Pitt. Maybe not Pitt.
But I think Pitt would slow the game down enough that it wouldn't be impossible to be a blowout. And then here we have TCU, who I think rolls both of these teams.
Yeah, I think they beat either of those teams easily. But I would have to, if I was going to pick, I think I'd have to go Arizona State to beat Nevada, Pitt to beat Mississippi State, and then Fairleigh Dickinson to beat Texas Southern, because Texas Southern's 14-20. I mean, their magic's going to have to run out eventually.
Yeah, I'm going to go as far to say that I think Texas Southern has one more game in them.
I mean, you never know. You could see it because right now they're on a heater.
They are on a heater. I'm going to go with Texas Southern, A&M CC. I am going to ride with you on Pitt and Nevada, though, as well, or Pitt and Arizona State as well.
That Arizona State Nevada game is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. When I was watching the selection show today, I completely forgot about Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Like they lost early in their tournament in the Big West, or the Mountain West, to San Jose State, and I just completely forgot about them. I'm like, well, there you go. They're going to be off.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, this is gonna be really fun though. I mean, I know you're enjoying it. This is the best week. This is the best week possible. So this has been the South bracket here. So we will have one video for each region here, and then obviously come Final Four time, we will be breaking that down as well. Probably come Elite 8 time is when we'll be really breaking it down. But other than that, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys.